2.
Hey, how we doing?
What's up?
I'm telling you.
Episode 7. February 6th, 2021.
I like the sound of that. 7. I like that number. It's a good number.
Yeah, 7 episodes. Holy crap.
Right?
Yeah, I know. Already.
Right?
It goes quick, but
and with the green room too. And
well, I know. So I mean, it's more than that, but still, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we were just in the green room. We were doing well. Overall, it was just a question near the end there.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of a cool segue we could use real quick is the fact that so the one thing I felt we could do societally across the board to make a better world was education. During the break, we started getting into a discussion about the stoned ape theory, which to me is almost like
so the Terrence McKenna.
The
missing link argument that
the fact that
he filled in using psychotropic,
right,
naturally occurring substances.
And one of the components that was a part of because it wasn't Terrence McKenna that was speaking, but it was his hypothesis, his theory, whatever you want to call it, his statement, his idea, that the evolutionary jump in hominids or whatever, right? Going from basically hairy ape to human today, because you have Homo erectus and Homo sapien, right? There are a couple quick evolutionary steps in there where all of a sudden it's just like bing, 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 and it's like, where the heck did that come from?
Well, they market specifically the period of time where the trees were starting to give way to savanna, and they really absolutely had no choice but to just start foraging along the ground. And then it's not completely out of the question that they would have really at some point fairly early maybe started turning over cow patties in the pastures, looking for maggots or looking for something like that to munch on, and possibly even had been eating the mushrooms off the top as well, because they're just naturally occurring.
Right.
And the possibility, basically that expanded our ability to comprehend and to think and to understand.
Which that's my segue is, to me, I feel like excuse me, I feel like that's the thing that carries over like education wise, because to me, when you become educated or aware, when you know, you start to ponder other things, you start to question more, and you start to accept more even, right? So not even just questioning, but now you also can understand or can accept. So it's more than, because we've had that conversation before where you said, I'm aware, I'm becoming more aware, and it's like, yeah, I think I'm more accepting than aware, because to know that it's there, cool, but to allow it to actually be a part of what you're doing. But I think that's, to me, that's why I like that idea of the stoned ape theory, because we're just talking about expanding our mind. We're talking about this, what happens when you don't have to worry about making money, when you don't have to worry about paying the bills, like when you don't have to worry about finding food at the grocery store to pay for it. Like you're hungry, cool, go eat stuff, whether it's grass, mushrooms, whatever. Like you're just eating. So to me, it sounds very logical that this could be a possibility. And
right,
just to me, that I think that's a nice little like crossover, parallel to it is open-mindedness, education. What happens when you educate?
And it would have happened over and over again. And I think maybe that might have been Terrence McKenna's argument, is that throughout the evolutionary, as you go from hominid, early ape, basically into Homo erectus or Homo sapien or whatever it is, where you start getting closer in line with the human race. How many times they revisited that? Maybe it was early monkey at first when they first started entering the savannah, and then it was small tribes people, and then maybe, I guess the question that we threw up or that I threw up last time, was that, you know, maybe all this discovery, because we have been able to prove scientifically that microdosing mushrooms, specifically psilocybin or psilocybin containing mushrooms, would give like an increased acumen to your vision and your sense of smell and kind of everything. It just kind of gives it a little...
It kicks you up a notch.
Gives you a little nudge, yeah.
Yeah, power up. Right, yeah.
So,
okay.
Sega. All right.
Yeah, and that's why I can really agree with that idea. That sounds like a very logical, and not even just the coinciding of the savannah and, you know, the way the mushrooms would have come about. The logical outcome of what would happen to show that mass transmutation would be from something. You know, most were like, oh, you know, aliens did it, or why couldn't it just, because maybe it was aliens, and now the apes or whatever that are dosing, that are getting these mushrooms, are now speaking to them on that level, because they always say the aliens are they speak telekinetically, right? They use their minds, so you wouldn't be speaking words anyways. So maybe, who knows? So maybe the aliens did have something to do with it, but it was because the apes got stoned as heck. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of funny. But I like this idea of, like, what happens when you educate on a grand scale? Like, what happens to an entire population?
When you make it readily available, you know, like, to the average American, you know, being able to find water out in public, you know, something that simple. Like, education would be like that. It would be anywhere you needed to access it.
And not
public area, like a library where you could just log in.
But not even just, like, knowledge, like all the knowledge. Like good, proper knowledge. Knowledge, oh, it was on the internet, so you know it's true. No, not that kind of knowledge. Like actual true knowledge.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's what proper education would be.
I mean, yeah, to some extent, you need to be able to vet sources of what you're looking at. That you can't obviously trust anything you run across and just assume that it's accurate. You know, you have to be able to, at some point, especially if you're going to lean on it for any kind of accuracy.
Well, so that's that bigger point. So the fact that I, the question that I answered with appropriate education for everybody, like equal opportunity education for everybody, the peripheral components is what, like, you know, the fact that you would need the free energy, the free component, you know, the conduit, whatever the construct to hold that information, and
the infrastructure would be needed.
Well, yeah, so
as a part of that, yeah.
Because of all of those, you know, subcomponents in order to support that main idea. I mean, that's another one.
Well, not only that, but I mean, say you're moving it into an area where, you know, there's whole tribes of people that are not really sure where they're going to eat from next. You know, so maybe part of that education process is teaching them, you know, like you were saying, a little bit more agriculture, teach them how to better provide for themselves in the process of feeding them and educating them, but that it's more of, here we go with that word organic again, but that it's more organic in the fact that you have to learn how to do it this way because it's going to be more prosperous for you.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, I don't believe in the fact...
And I can't do it for you.
I don't believe in the fact that we should be educating. I believe in the fact that we need to have equal opportunity for that education, and that it now becomes up to the individual to actually take use of that to whatever degree they want. You know, to me, the idea of forcing anything on anybody, nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be forced.
Now, really. Are you saying education all the way up to a collegiate level, like to the point where, you know, hey, if you've got the time and you can dedicate a little time to doing this, that you can, you know, sky's the limit?
Well, that's
none of it extra charge, or is it just your basic education?
But now you're talking about a piece of paper. I'm not talking about a piece of paper. I didn't say going to college education.
Life knowledge.
Education, period. So
Right.
the fact that there's a 100% free, equal opportunity platform that holds all of the information of the world, true, honest, impeccable knowledge of the world, and everyone has access to it, that's appropriate education. I want that system.
Sorry. I mean, there's something out there like that, though, like where, you know, a group of people that vet information all the time, right? I mean, there's something like a Snopes or something like that, right? I mean,
I have no idea what you mean.
but I don't know, whatever.
Maybe you were talking about Drogotas.
I may as well say, you better not mention that again. I just
Oh, okay, go. So, oh, sorry. Pardon. Oh my gosh. I got tickled. My
You okay?
apologies. I'm going to live. Yes, I'm going to live. We're
take
good.
a sip of your tasty beverage.
I know. Yeah, I should. He's absolutely correct. I have. Oh my gosh. I have appropriate libations that have been shared with me that I am appreciative of. Oh, and it's good too. So not only do I appreciate, but it's also quite delicious. Oh, Scotch is. Hey, Scotch. Yeah, I know. I just saw you do it.
Scotch.
Down it goes. Yeah, no. It's.
I shall have a sip as well.
Oh,
Melade.
yeah. No, I still have that.
I.
All right.
Oh, I should really. Whatever.
Oh, there we go.
Put it down there.
There,
Whatever.
there. All right, so
Whatever. Okay. I don't know. Just stop.
Can we get our shit together here?
Yeah,
buddy?
I gotta say something falling
all right.
apart over here.
So, yeah, the educational aspect, I think that's a great thing. But yeah, I wouldn't force the educational. Like, I wouldn't say you have to do it this way. If you, because now you're not talking about having equal opportunity of education. Now you're talking about classing, because now you're going to classism, because it's those who have the education and those don't.
I mean,
If once you're like, hey, you have to do it this way, it's like, oh, are you not educated? Now you get separation. Whereas if you have that ability to be like, hey, this information's available, do with it what you want. You still have the classism, but now you're not forcing that to happen. It's just going to be a byproduct.
yeah, I think you should always be really careful that anything, any kind of, if you're offering it with the idea of I'm trying to help better you. If you don't see it that way and you don't choose to accept it, that's your choice. I'd be the same way. I don't want to force this on you. I'm not going to force democracy on you. If you're happy living the life you're living, another example. Just anyway, train of thought that I have.
And see, I think I'm always trying to understand other people's perspectives and see what their perception of things are. Like, I want to see how they see and what it is that they think, because I want to better myself. And if there's something that I can find that correlates on some level, whether it's a parallel idea, whether it's a perpendicular, it's kind of adjacent but not really related to. If there's anything I feel that like how we go back and forth. If something resonates and it pops into me and it's like, hey, you know what, I feel like I need to share this. That's the same level I'm going to do with them. And that to me is you're no longer in the idea of forcing anything. You're now just allowing that free flow of conversation a little bit more. I feel.
Well, and it should be like you should never take away that free will aspect, because that's when people are ready for it, when people are ready to accept it. I mean, change is a big thing. Change is a very difficult thing for a lot of people to accept. And for everybody to accept, depending on what it is. I mean, the seriousness varies from subject to subject based on the person, right? I mean,
change is the only thing that's permanent, though.
Right, but some change, certain types of change may affect me differently than it affects you,
Well, of course,
kind of thing.
Everything is going to affect everybody differently. everyone's going to have a different bias as to what that means. So they're going to ingest it differently. Their body's going to interpret that ingested information differently. I mean, altogether. I mean, that's why vantage point or whatever, you'll never have the same story from the same person, because every single person has a different perspective, as well as a different bias on that perspective. So it's their influence on how they express what it was that they saw, and as well as the influence their body and brain has on what they saw, a combination thereof.
I think if nothing else, to instill in people that, maybe people that listen to a show like this, to instill in those people that the idea that the thought process that's going on here, the inner monologue that we're basically giving power to, this is what we need as a society, because these are the things, when you start opening up and looking within and seeing what it is that certain topics, how they have an effect on you, and what you feel you would want to put into it. Here my basic question was, how would you heal the world in your own special way? And you said basically knowledge.
Yeah, true and free available knowledge. Yeah.
And however you would make that work, but the logistics involved in it, the Wi-Fi, setting up all the electronic devices, the towers,
Yeah, and that was just like off the head, because I'm just like, well, and I started to break down the problem, and that was my deduction. Obviously, there's multitudes of ways. Education is pretty much just one of them, but education's always been as I call it, my hot button, which I guess makes sense why I would want to use that. But yeah, I really feel, because even on a generational component, if we have, for not even just us, but our kids or our kids' kids, like, I don't care which generation we're going to talk about, if we just pick one of the younger generations and properly educate them, and that means teaching them how to teach themselves, as well as giving them true and honest information that is readily available at any and all times, freely. So again, there's subcomponents to that, where you would have basically free internet or free energy or free tablets, or whether it's in school, or it doesn't matter what level it's on. But the simple fact is like, you have to have those supporting factors. To me, it's, if you can, if we really do, then generation after generation, because again, if going back to the stoned ape thing, if we open our eyes, if we have a willingness and an openness, if we start to see that there are alternate things than what we just see, it's like seeing things in 3D instead of 2D, and if we had 3D and now we understand 4D, and so on and so on. When you start to question, you yourself should become better. You should grow on some level, whether it's spiritual and then combination of mental or physical or vice versa, with chicken or egg on that. But as you do that, you should also want to do better for your kids, and then those kids the same and same. So if we're truly like proper real deal, right? If we do actual, honest, true, real education, support it, so that generation upon generation wants to basically just keep giving to each other. In 2, 3, 4 generation, we're not going to be dealing with a lot of the same issues that we have now, because all of a sudden the old heads are going to be gone. All the younger ones that were actually being properly educated, that have a truer, more appropriate consciousness that actually is aware and accepts a lot of these things, and then makes life choices that are different. As those ones move on, and the new ones step up, we're going to have better senators. We're going to have better House of Representatives. We're going to have better congressmen and local mayors, council people, whatever, all the departments, everything. You're going to start to have all of these different people that are in every inch of all of what we do, that are just
by providing knowledge, offering opportunity to people that might not have had it before, basically, is what you're saying. And maybe finding a leader who's closer to the people. Is that correct?
Well, not even that. The people would just literally just start to speak up for themselves and take use of the true system the way it is, because they would all start to vote correctly, and you wouldn't have these people who are just like, well, it's this way and it's that way. It's like, no, we wouldn't really have to be voting on much, because we'd all pretty much be in agreement to some level, because we'd just be more open to that idea. It's like, oh, that that really does work for everybody. It's like, all right, cool, then I guess I'm on board now. Okay, cool. And then we just all kind of agree to it. It's like planting the seed that you're not going to see the tree as it grows, 70, 80, 120, 130, it just you're never going to see the true, fruits of that tree, but one of our generations will, and that's the seed I'm trying to plant, man.
Well, you have to proceed almost with the assumption in the back of your mind that tree will never exist ever again, and that you're okay with that, but you're still gonna press on.
Well,
because that can't be a goal for you. The goal for you is that if this is something you're willing to, if this is the cross that you're willing to bear, kind of thing, then yes, put yourself into it.
Well, but that's pay it forward. That's where I'm at. I'm true pay it forward. I'm going to go ahead and plant and nurture and grow these amazing trees that I will probably never truly take full utility of, but others will. At least I hope. And that's what I want to do. I want to plant beautiful trees for many, many generations to truly take faculty of.
I mean, that's what I keep thinking. Nikola Tesla wanted to create, and I think pretty much found a way to pull electricity out of the, I don't even know, out of the cosmos.
I believe the speculation is same as what they tried to state as the Egyptians with building the pyramids and whatnot is.
You were saying this before, that he built his tower on like ley lines.
Well, so it's not only it's one, and this is the bigger thing, is it's the split between the equator and true north, which is what allows for the fact that you get the two polars at that point. So you get equator to the middle and then North Pole to the middle. And you get, like the one turns the one way and the other side turns the other way, and they kind of like cyclone on top of each other as like a corkscrew almost. And so they gear mesh and just roll off of each other. And on that line, which I think, maybe in conjunction with ley line, which makes it more apropos to like give up the energy, is where he built his tower, so that you can just basically pull this energy from the earth. This static energy that just gets created from stuff moving in everything that happens around us.
Yeah, that's where you like major structures are built on crossings of some of these super powered ley lines you're talking about. Like,
a lot of mythical spots and mystical spots.
Well, I mean, the Giza.
Yeah, isn't there like the...
I mean, that's a big one. I mean...
Isn't there like a runway, they call it, in Peru or something, where there's just like a long section that looks like, I think it's just character after character in a very straight line going across it, and it's almost, it almost looks like a set of runways. So I think that was like one of the hypotheses that was speculated. Oh yeah, there's tons of them. There's ones where there's like just drawings in the ground. I think there's ones there's stones that do the same thing, where they follow the lines very specifically and straight, making it almost look like a runway. Yeah, especially down in South America. Yeah, there's a couple of spots. I think that's like one of the speculated hypotheses.
Are we tangent? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but so the topic in general was coming off the question from, I'm just trying to figure out and keep track of where we are. That's all. The question being, the one thing you could do to change humanity, we're bringing wisdom, we're bringing free knowledge to everyone. And
the one thing you would do to change society, if you could snap your fingers, what was the one thing you would do to society to make it better, or something to that effect?
Whatever that would be.
My choice. Well, my deduction was it would probably be best to just give appropriate equal opportunity education to everybody, because you would get the side components of free energy, free Wi-Fi, and free use of electronics, basically, so you could get usage of that knowledge.
I Tesla'd us off track again, but it's always fun.
Well, but I think that's a solid component, because he was working on free energy. I think
that's definitely a parallel. Absolutely.
I think that was where you were actually going with it, and you just got sidetracked on the whole idea of how it happened.
What happens?
and you're just like, so yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's where we were going with that. So we're still good.
We're getting better at it, though. We're getting better.
Yes, we are.
So, but there's definitely a Tesla connection to that. Because the minute we started talking about that, I was like, yeah. Well, I think he was really trying to do that, and that's the thing. Like, he didn't care about fortune and fame. He was trying to give his ideas away.
Pretty much.
And that's what kind of made him an enemy of, what was it, the president of Westinghouse or something like that, or...
I
forget. I have to look. Well, yeah, if I'm going to talk about this stuff, I should really be looking it up. But
I would state it as big money was upset because they wanted patents to make more money. And instead,
you can't give away free energy. That's basically what he was saying he wanted to do, and he was trying to get somebody to pay for the research that it would.
Well, now so.
And they're like, no, I'm not doing that.
Now, here's how I look at it: is I agree to the idea that you can't give away free energy. Cool. However, when it comes to things of that nature, like water, sewage, electricity, your basic utilities, the things that we truly need just to keep the cities flowing healthily, right? So that there's not like waste just chilling everywhere. So we're all just like literally just walking around in fecal matter. Like, in order to do that, we have to have certain, infrastructure and utilities. We should be at a place where a lot of these systems are for profit, which I don't understand. And if they're not, then they're getting subsidized, and somehow or another in there, they're probably cheating the programs as well, because that's the common practice, right?
That's the unfortunate.
That's the unfortunate. Yeah, when people just start throwing money around, all of a sudden it's just like, well, hey, if you don't spend all of your budget, you're going to get less money next year. That's a lot of people's systems, so they wind up spending the extra money on nothing, just so in case they need it for next year, they get it.
Right.
To me, that in and all of itself, that's a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard to build a system around natural law, knowing how people in general tend to abuse a system. You look for a weak spot. You look to push the edge. It's human nature. I mean, I'm not really picking on us as people. It's human nature. Well, to look for a shortcut, look easy way out,
That, to me, supports the 80-20.
Right, but what are you going to bring?
Education.
No, but that's what I'm saying, though. You're gonna be that 20% that hopes to make a difference.
I like to think I already am.
I
like to think that me and those around me who support me in the facet of the things that I do also are a part of that, because without the support of the people that I have around me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. The things that I want are bigger than me. I am merely aware of what I think is the best way of going about it. I am aware of faculties and resources that are in front of me that I can use to hopefully bring about this outcome. And I'm doing my best to utilize that and be appreciative of the path along the way. I mean, that's really all I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Because, even if I just make a difference in my life, cool.
Well, build an understanding community around you, that like-minded people that can share like we share, and maybe on all kinds of different levels. Like you've already started with the food, you've now kind of gone foodie and done your own food show. I mean, and the sky's the limit at this point, really. I mean, this opens a venue of artistic, fortitude that we've always both kind of had, in a way. So, like, and creating, and if you can stick to that, creating something that it's not for you, it's really not, and I don't care if anything ever comes from it. It's just, it is what it is, and that's the beauty of it. And that what you put into it is just going to be that much better because of it, because the focus is just on the doing, on the enjoyment of just doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to put a fine point on it and label it as such, sure. Yeah,
I mean, I'll drink to that.
Yeah, right. Agreed. I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, that was actually kind of touching. Like, for real. Like, I'm gonna be dope with you.
Oh, you're gonna be dope with me. All right. Here we are.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm very taken aback by that. That's just another way to say what it is that we're doing. Just even with I'm telling you, just this show in and of itself, what we're getting into.
It's that one thing that just makes you think in a different way, makes you consider something you hadn't thought about. And what if you could make a difference? What if you could snap your fingers today and make that difference? Maybe not as grandiose at first, but who knows? Sky's the limit, right?
I mean, one of my favorite sayings. I always aim for the heavens, because even if I reach the mountains, that's still pretty good. But if all I did was just aim for the mountains, then I may or may not make it to those. And anything along the way, that's still pretty good because you're aiming for something you're going for. But you might as well aim as high as you can, because regardless of whether or not you actually obtain that goal, because maybe it's not in this lifetime, maybe the assets, resources, universal energy, whatever you want, maybe it's just not your time.
Well, I mean, if you shoot for the moon, and you really shoot for the moon, and you expect that you're not going to make it, even in failure, you reach a pretty awesome height, don't you?
Well, yeah. And that's,
whereas if you just try to jump to the nearest hill, aim high. So.
Well, but and aiming for that's still pretty decent. Like, you still aim for something. Like, people set a goal, set a small goal, go obtain it. It makes such a huge difference in how you feel about yourself, and then you will start doing more settings of goals, and you will accomplish those, and you will feel better and better about yourself no matter what. But that's my thing is, if you're gonna aim for something, aim for the biggest you can. Aim for as large as you think is, even if you don't think you can reach it. Aim for what you think is the possible best, and go for that.
You know what you're talking about doing, right?
Communism?
No, you're talking about like forming new neural pathways, like by doing something a different way, like get lost and find your way back on purpose. Just get lost, like we were saying before.
Oh yeah,
but in a very physical way, like you're trying to get to work, go a different way.
Yeah,
just get lost for a minute and then find your way back. And it'll give you a much better sense of, in the end, where you are.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's a lot. You can take that metaphorically too.
Right. Well, yeah, you can, and I agree to that whole path because, psychologically, I've been schooled enough to be aware that that's how our brains work, where even when we've had damage in areas where it should affect our abilities a certain way, and yet our brains seem to find an additional path and it rectifies and changes. and now all of a sudden a different spot of the brain is now taking over that workload. So we know this is possible. We've seen it. We've tracked it more than a few times. So we now have evidence on this, right? So I agree. You can, and that's kind of what, like, so I feel as though when you come into this world, like, you're born into a certain idea of what it is you're supposed to become, but regardless of what you are as that consciousness, this goes back to my video game idea, right? Regardless of what you are as that consciousness, your body is predisposed to certain things, which could be good or bad, or or productive or less productive, or however you want to signify that. But it's no matter what you do, it's like, dude, that's your trap. Like, you're born into that, and there's nothing you can do about it, But what you do outside of that, I mean that's pretty dope.
Just creating something original here. It's just a beautiful thing. It's just, I'm marveling. It's
Well, but that
this open exchange of thought. This, people need this. I think the fast-paced, McDonald's eating. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I just got the.
Everybody's always, I need to get in a rush. I got to go over. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to pick up so and so. I got to run this over there. It's like constantly in a rush, and nobody's like taking the time to just kind of think things out,
educate themselves, or those
just
younger than them.
Think along a pathway that serves you no particular purpose at this point, other than to lose yourself for a moment while you're stuck in traffic. Right? I mean, that's the whole purpose behind, these little thought games, these little thought experiments,
And that's the thing. So you say you have these thought experiments. I literally, if I'm sitting in traffic, I'm programming my brain. I'm constantly reinforcing my habits. So that's why, like, you're talking about, being patterns and programs. Yeah. So while our bodies may be predisposed to certain things, there are certain things that we can kind of counter by modifying our programs. I think you and I are having the discussion about how being aware of the equipment, being aware of the equipment modifies your ability to flow with the conversation, because you're being aware of, and you're not just being in the flow. And my statement is, hey, as you get more and more used to it, your body's building these programs where it just knows where it wants to be.
Or like a muscle memory, yeah.
Well, you can call it muscle memory, but you're literally building a confidence machine in your brain, a program that says,
I was just saying, neural pathways. You're actually building new pathways.
Yeah, your brain's a logic machine. It says there's a high probability that if I do this, my body's going to be, or my consciousness, the thing that drives me, is going to be happy that I did this, and it's going to let me keep doing it.
A part of me, because of this whole thing you put in my head, like, I've got manly nearly entirely in my mouth.
Yeah. Manly's the mic. I keep telling
I can't get that out of my head now.
Yeah, put manly in your mouth. Put it all in there.
It's a little disturbing. I mean,
I think it's disturbing that you don't want to put manly in your mouth.
Or am I just projecting?
I'm projecting.
Obviously, I just really like manly.
One of us is projecting. I don't know what that means, but
I don't know.
But yeah, so that, and I really like the idea of, if again, education. I mean, to me, the stoned ape theory kind of supports that. If we have, that's why I even said, I think this is one of our tech check conversations where we kind of got onto universal basic income for a hot second. I made the statement that if we had so many things already taken care of, where most of our true necessities.
Now you keep bringing
humans,
this up, Nella. What is this? This sounds like a socialist thing to me.
Well, it's kind of what's going on now, where there's like unemployment for everybody, and like these massive checks for it's like, you're not working here, have some money, woo. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that because that's going to come back.
Well, but on that grand of a scale, if it was more proportionate, right, where it's like, hey, because that's the thing. So, to me, universal basic income shouldn't be so much like, hey, here's your money. There should also be subsystems that are already cared for. Again, like most utilities are just, hey, you're a citizen. Everybody gets power.
Do you really think that's going to improve? I mean, unless you create.
Well, I'm not supporting this idea. This is what it is.
I don't think that would improve curiosity in the sciences and stuff like that. But anyway, go on.
Well, but it will. Because think about this. Because now you're also talking about for that system to actually be productive, we would have to have a very large workforce that doesn't have any work. So now you're talking about when we get into robots doing 80% of all of our work. So that was your 80-20 where you're talking about like 20% of the workforce that puts out like 80% of something or other. Well, eventually you're going to get to a place where it's like 80% of the workforce is not us. It's going to be it's just going to be robots. I mean, building our cars, building all of our tablets, our phones, so now you have this mass population that's not working, and you're just going to have homelessness? Or are you going to give them, hey, you have so many basic necessities cared for?
Because the market would completely collapse. What they want is to change the paradigm. In order to do that, you have to just cause a drought in the market. You have to say, another thing they're moving towards too, if we're not getting too off subject, is
but that's the bigger
cash.
point. But that's the bigger point of using universal basic income is because it's to modify that system from happening. Because like you said, if you don't buffer, you're going to collapse it. So that's why it's like, hey, if we get into this, because that's kind of what we're doing now. This is like a trial run for it almost. It's obviously like proportionately way off, but that's kind of the idea. If in doing that, you get all these people that instead of like, hey, you have to go out and get a job now because you have food, you have shelter, you have clothing. It may not be the best stuff, but you have all the things that you truly need. You can just kind of hang out with your friends and just talk shop all day and read books and just think about stuff. Eventually, you're going to get bored and you're going to want to do something that feels worthwhile to you.
Or maybe you won't.
Well, but so what? You're going to have some of that anyways. You're still 80-20 rule, right? You're still going to get some of them that aren't. But but that's the thing, though. So
then it would be for the right reasons if you want to have that argument. But.
Correct. So now you have 10 million people that are just getting paid because a massive workforce that's out of work. It'd probably even be larger than that. Probably like 100 million. Who knows? But you'd have to have such a large quantity doing it. If you have even just 20%, right, 80-20 of like 10 million people. You're talking about 200,000 people that are just sitting around chilling, just thinking about stuff, wanting to be better people as like doctors or scientists or physicists or mathematicians or musicians or whatever it is. You're going to get an increase from that. It's just a natural outcome. We as creative thinking humans. Yeah, you're still going to get a large populace. It's just going to be like, who gives a crap, man? I'm just going to sit around eating Cheetos and smoking weed all day. Bro, it's the best ever. And you're going to get plenty that are like, I am bored out of my mind. I want to do something. And they need that feeling for self-worth, which typically working a job, getting a paycheck gives you that self-worth. I paid my bills. I kept a roof over my head. But if all that's already provided for you, it's like, all right, well, now how do you get that self-worth? Create.
Yeah, I can't minimize the creative aspect of getting into something and being able to basically formulate a plan from the ground up to the point where you have something as mercurial as a thought, and now you have a physical object, or you have a service, or some kind of new idea. And it's the power of the free-thinking mind shutting off the TV and thinking to come up with these things.
Yeah, killing all the distractions, letting your mind just full. And that's, I think when you do that, like you're saying, man, you get into the ether, right? You said it before, the Akashic records, where there's just like all the world's actual intelligence.
If you want to call it like a super highway of intelligence.
Right.
It's like there's all of human intelligence throughout history. So future, past, it's all there.
The eternal records or something.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't know how, but I mean, I guess the interface is directly connected to your synapse. So whatever you're leaning towards in thought, you come closer to. Now, however that works. It's just, it's like right there.
It was
right in front of you. Bam, there it is.
Yeah, I get the Matrix training program, the construct program or whatever, the training construct or whatever they call that.
Well, it's all conceptual. I mean, yeah, they had the nail on the head for a lot of stuff in there, and none of the concepts in that movie were really all that new, but it was a beautiful way to see it all together. It really was. That concept has been referred to so many times when you start talking about like certain types of philosophy, where you start edging into that. Okay, well, what really is reality? Is it just a construct? Is it all in my head? Are we in some kind of super program?
Well, that's why I go back to the idea of the video game, because as our eyes see and our ears hear, the way we perceive things, it's if we have like wraparound virtual reality goggles on. So it's what's the movie Surrogate? Bruce Willis, Surrogate.
Oh, yeah, creepy.
Where you actually are like a whole nother humanoid.
It's so sad though, because nobody has an actual life with their body. Like, people don't.
Yeah, you get the disconnect.
But it's because it's like a drug. It's like, well, I can do whatever the hell I want. I can be my own person. I can have this completely different persona. I can be like Jekyll and Hyde.
You can almost live forever.
No inhibitions. Do whatever the hell I want. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
You could have every experience, and there is no death. True immortality, right? I think that's...
But at what cost?
A lot of money, I guess.
In reality, you're like this sniveling, like, been spending all your time cooped up in the dark, so you're probably like, your skin's probably like pale white or even close to blue or green.
Well, but I think
your body never sees sunlight. You hardly eat real food.
I think one of the jokes in that movie, at least I saw it as a joke, is the same thing as the phone sex lines. Back in the day, where you think you're talking to the most amazing, attractive woman, or what, just like it has all the right curves, it's all the right muscles, or just the right spot, blah blah blah. It just the absolute ideal. On the other side, it's not even close. Not even close.
Was the Aerosmith video?
Yeah, exactly.
Where the girl on the sex line is like doing the laundry and she's like 300 pounds.
Yeah, she's like ironing. Has a cigarette hanging out with curlers in her hair.
And that's the thing about perception. Does it really matter to the person on the other end of the line? No, not one bit.
Well, but does it really matter what? It's like what anybody looks like on the outside.
As he chooses steak and he says ignorance is bliss, right? There's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me be ignorant, and everybody, it's so easy to do.
Well, one of our other things about whether or not, again, if this is a video game, like, why wouldn't we be trying to live it up? Like, your dad was saying or something, you said, why so serious?
This is the avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why so serious then? Like, why not have more fun?
Why so serious?
Yeah, why are you so serious? Yeah.
Like the Joker? Is that?
Oh, no.
But the Joker.
I don't watch much television. It rots the brain.
The Joker's not television, it's a movie.
Same difference. I try not to watch much of anything other than like documentaries or...
Anyhow.
Dude, again, I'm on that program. I'm programmed. All I do is ingest the same relative ideas so that I'm constantly programming.
I still like to occasionally go on a cinematic adventure.
Oh, I do as well.
Right.
but it's usually like old school.
Old school, I know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I like to branch out and try new things. It's a wonderful thing you can try.
I'm gonna say John Hughes, John Cusack, John Candy. There's a lot of Johns.
Oh, there's a lot of Johns.
I liked a lot of Johns.
I think it's because you're a hooker.
I mean, someone's gotta pay my bills. But yeah, dude, that's my any and all that kind of stuff, man. That I'll rewatch all of that.
You're just a dirty whore.
Yeah, someone's gotta pay my bills. I do. You gonna pay my bills? No. All right, cool. Let's do this.
All right.
I got bills to pay. People want things. Let's do this. Again, Jolly Ranchers was one of my hustles.
But yeah, I've surrogates. Is that what it's called?
Well, but so anyway, but if we go back
I was just gonna say that was a cool concept because you can even take that just on the psychological level. That people are so concerned about this outward appearance that when you look on what's actually on the inside, it's just ugly and distorted and kind of looks like that person, but not really.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I feel that came about from all this COVID stuff is there's quite a few people that kind of dove deeper, and it forced quite an other few to kind of stand up further, to question more, to be more aware, to push harder, to just want to do and be better and be more. So from this adversity, there's definitely been some positivity that came out of it, and it was from internal work. You have to ask the hard questions, and then you have to answer them honestly. You have to be impeccable with your thoughts and your words. It is a very difficult task.
But like I said, a lot of that
I continuously strive for it, man.
A lot of that starts by creating that inner monologue, like that. Is this really the person I want to be today, going forward? Is this, how is this going to bring me towards a better tomorrow? Like that kind of thing, which, I need to start thinking about right now and getting into that mindset because I need to flip the script and basically rebrand myself to start a whole new.
My aha moment when I finally let go, it was over money. And it was to the universe and the world and God and all the energies to be and everything around me. And I was in this place where I'm so certain that this is who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing, and you all don't know shit. Give me my goddamn money. This is how it's supposed to be. Like, dude, swearing at the heavens. That was my aha moment. Like, sitting in traffic. Like, dead set sitting in traffic, rush hour, banging my fist on my dash, damn near breaking it, cursing at the heavens.
Or like
looking like a madman in a car. Almost like the car is like rocking side to side, and you can just see this angry fist pounding back. Just like everybody people saw it. I know people saw it, and they just got to be like, "Oh my dear Lord, I'm watching this man melt down in front of me. This is glorious." Earl, get the camera, Earl. Yeah, no, this was a sight to
behold. People got their phones out already anymore. It's like you can't do nothing without being videotaped.
Well, this was a while ago, so this wasn't like super phone prevalent, but yeah, possibly.
Look, this white guy freaking out. He's gonna be.
Yeah, right. He's gonna get his.
Get a camera there. Hold on.
Yeah, gotta record it for posterity. But yeah, so it was.
And you're like, wow, man, that's what I look like.
But so here's my thing: is I did that, and that was kind of my moment where I'm like, I'm tired. I know that there's got to be something better than this. I am just fighting all the way. I'm struggling. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing to be this better person. I'm educating myself. I'm being a single parent. I'm putting a roof over my head and food on the table, working jobs. Like, dude, I'm killing myself. I'm literally killing myself to do all this. And I'm just tired. So I wasn't looking for a higher power. That was never my search. That's never what I intended. I was just tired. And I knew there had to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And the rest is history.
well, kind of. I mean, at this point, it's like, dude, there's way more to it. But
Well,
yeah,
we're still working on it. Actually, it's a work in progress. But that's
I am.
Yeah, that's the thing. And one of the things I was going to say I got from you from our previous conversations is lose that concept, because I've gotten so used to being in corporate America that like that paycheck was such a steady thing for me. I never had to worry about it. You know what I mean? So it's like now I got to think about, okay, and talking to you, it's like, dude, who cares? You have 6 different jobs. I mean, as long as you can balance it, whatever you do, whenever you can do it, you know, make a couple bucks here, make a couple bucks there. And that's, you know, that's where I'm at now, thinking about, like, how am I going to move forward? It's like, I might just have to work weekends over here, do an odd Monday or Wednesday here or there. But if I could do that all doing part-time jobs towards what I'm interested in, so revolving around something I'm interested in, would that not be a good way to kind of...
But that's my program, because I'm a firm believer that if you set out to obtain a goal, you need to surround yourself with the components that will support that.
Right. Move in that direction.
Yeah, so then you got to go get a job that
way.
way.
Talk to the people that do it.
Or you get multiple jobs because it supports you doing one of those things one of those ways. But while in all of that...
Well, and giving you an education...
If possible, yeah, of course.
Towards something, an ancillary benefit is going to be you're going to get an education on how to use the phone better, or how to work systems better, or how to use a cash machine, or whatever.
Build your
I got to
resume.
make bank drops now, whatever it is, whatever.
Yeah, building your resume. Yeah, but it's... Because that's a lot of the people, they... I feel their epiphany, they look for the higher power, and I already felt that there was a higher power, so I wasn't looking for that.
So what do you mean by this, as far as to try and make like life decisions, like they stop and they kind of consult their higher power, or is this just like a seeking for people that you know, just a constant?
Well, no, me personally, I started looking into... I started to believe in the higher power.
42.
The energies.
What's the
what?
42?
40.
Are you looking for 42, or?
No, I wasn't looking for 42.
Well, the meaning of universe and everything. Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't even that was never that has never been what it was I was looking for. I mean, even now, that's not even what I look for. But the journey that I have gone on in doing what I'm doing has presented all of these opportunities and information. So it's completely secondary. And then, I mean, I think that's the irony that is this life. I never was... Dude, I actually... I mean, dude, yeah, I literally denounced. I denounced my God. I did. I was a blaspheming fool. Swore God off. Like, dude, I couldn't give... 0 F's given. Crazy man in the middle of traffic.
I mean, normally I'd say don't get me started, but isn't that the whole purpose of doing this conversation?
Can be, yeah.
To get me started. Or to get, anybody who's playing this role, to get you started, to get, any guest appearance we might eventually have.
Well, but so that's my thing. So, all right, so even though as I educated myself, I naturally started to question, or it wasn't even so much question as I just naturally started to believe, because I needed something at that time to believe in, and so I turned to the energies around me and started to meditate and understand that kind of stuff. But all of that was just getting me to just be more in tune with the world around me. It didn't make me happy, It really didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't make me happy, not even a little bit. Because I was still poor, right? So that's why that's what I thought, because I thought I was unhappy because I was poor.
That's what you thought would make you happy, is to have money.
More money, yeah.
Which is a common misconception.
Well, to have education wasn't good enough. To be a single dad that worked enough jobs to still go to school and pay for all that and still spend time with his child and pretty much, raise her, almost on his own in a sense. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely plenty of people that are involved in helping, but to do what I did to the degree I did with all the other things that I had going on, impressive feat. And I felt that all of that had occurred because I was being positive and believing in being positive. I was having expectations. I felt that I was putting good in.
Yeah, that's where you got to be careful.
I was putting good in, so I was expecting to get all that good out. Like, I was focused. I meditated. I pushed. Dude, maybe this isn't the life. Maybe this isn't the lifetime. Maybe it's just not the right time. I had to give all that stuff up. And it wasn't until I had I broke myself on expectations, swearing at the heavens, denouncing my God.
You provide something that's the best of what you can in whatever given scenario. And that's all you can do. And you gotta just let it go. And that's the hardest thing for anybody to do, is to be able to just let go of don't worry about the consequences. Obviously, you hope for the best in any situation. You do a kind deed for somebody, and even if you want to make sure that you wipe away any evidence that it was you doing it, there's still a part of you that wants to peek in later on and make sure it went well. But it's actually against your better nature to do that. Because what's that going to prove if it went wrong?
Well, are
you going to stop doing good deeds for people? Are you going to stop? You know what I mean? Like, how does that motivate you? How does that move you forward?
So that was my bigger thing, is I finally learned to surrender. I let go. I started to give up expectations. I'm still doing it. I'm still working on it. This is a daily thing. I have programs that have been built for decades. It's going to take time to unwind all of this on many levels. And, it's there are physical repercussions from the emotional components that I've been dealing with. I'm pretty sure quite a few of us have this happen to them. And so it's all of these things, as I've educated myself and wanted to just be a better me, have slowly become a more integral component in a lot of people's lives without even realizing it. I've just been trying to be a better me for me, to try to just be a better me for my family. I saw myself being very selfish and kind of really despised myself for it,
but nobody else saw it that way.
Well, of course not, because this is my bias. This is my perspective.
This is not funny,
right?
Yeah.
But I've learned to more and more just surrender and let go and just be me, and there's been many beautiful things that have come from that, and I'm very appreciative for it. So I mean, like this show in and of itself, the cathartic nature that it is, where we get to just throw up all over the place. Here it is, blah.
No, that's a great message, man, and something that can keep you moving forward. But like, it never stops. It's not like you reach a point tomorrow where you're like, okay, I'm where I want to be. Like, this curiosity of mine, I don't think it's ever going to stop. And that's what makes me me. And it's the same thing with you. There's the things that motivate you and the things that stand out that are important to you.
But see, I think all humans are like this.
But what's interesting about saying how you affect other people's lives, and I was just thinking about this recently, and how, you define yourself not just as yourself. You define yourself as everybody else too. because you can only reference yourself in relation to everyone else. So in a way, I mean, that's that whole sense of oneness, that I'm just at the edge of being able to touch every once in a while. That feeling that when you get that feeling that there is no difference between you and I, and you feel that closeness with everybody.
Nirvana.
Whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, what you said is as like that part of in between, where you're just all part of the all in the one.
Right. Yeah.
That same kind of sense. When you get that culmination, all total inclusion, all accepting.
Well, how many times have you done something or said something? And I know I'm sure I've done it quite recently. And the minute you do or say that thing, you wish you could take it back. And it's like, nope, too late. Already said it, already did it. It's already out there. But when we motivate ourselves because of that's something that's driven by fear. Like the act of lashing out like that, the act of whatever in that moment, to feel the need to strike out at somebody for whatever reason, out of protection for yourself.
Yeah, it gives us safety.
And an idea of protection that completely is non-existent. There's no danger to your person at that moment.
Right. Well, it's an emotional protection.
Right.
But still, yeah. Providing yourself safety. It's a common human reaction.
So that was my gift I wanted to give to the world, is right, to bring it back around again anyway, is to be a little bit more introspective when it comes to just thinking about any given situation, that you would tend to lean more towards the positive and what you could do for a situation, instead of finding ways to point the finger at other people or situations that put you in the situation that you're in. Instead of looking at yourself, instead of, if I could give that gift of introspection to people, if that was my snap my fingers.
I feel I learned a long time ago, if I could find a way to accept some form of blame in any situation and be the first one to accept that, to have myself be held accountable, them's the rules. Everybody's got to play by it. If I hold myself to it as that example, then others will follow suit eventually.
Not even in like a punishing way.
No,
to think about it like that, but to think about it like
no, hey, I messed up. Just coming correct.
Like we said before, like your focus is not on the outcome of what happens to me tomorrow and next Wednesday and 2 months from now and 3 years from now. It's not about me. If I can keep the focus on this higher purpose that we have, that's what's going to come out of this, and we can't focus on what it's going to do for us. And that's where it's going to get to that other place that we want it to get to. But anyhow, we seem to be all over the place tonight. I'm sorry.
I think we've been very on track.
Trying to.
I think that's you being negative about yourself and judging how your performance. And I think you've been doing very well, and many others would agree.
But the idea of I don't know, introspection. I think that's, if I could give a gift to humanity, it would be the ability to kind of just take a moment and see what it is, not in a negative way, like how did I F this up, but how could I make this next moment better? Or this, not even better, this moment, right now, how could I make now better?
And that's where I agree that you totally can and absolutely should be able to phrase those questions with the negatives in there, because you need that differentiation. Otherwise, you won't have a point to be aiming towards. So you have to remind yourself, like what you said, you can't not think about the negatives.
You can't not think about the negatives.
Correct. It doesn't mean that we have to give them...
You can't punish yourself with it either, but...
Yeah, we don't need to give it a spotlight, but we do need to give it its, due diligence. We do have to be aware of it. Doesn't mean we have to glorify it.
Greatest trick the devil ever pulled, right?
Well, but again, on just the same level of just, you need to know what is to know what is not. Without that, you said earlier, the yin and the yang.
Without the placing judgment on it. And I think that was one of the other things I was trying to say about it, is that yin and yang are not good and bad.
It's just black or white, up and down,
and negative and
and
positive,
right.
Polar negative and positive, black and white, sun and moon.
Just opposites.
Ocean and land.
Yeah.
They're not. One's
water.
not negative and one's not positive.
Right.
Like that. I mean, polar wise, but yeah.
Just opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there has to be.
And I always equate that to a lot of things when trying to understand people, especially when dealing with them on an emotional level. When you start to understand how people interact or how they are, what they think, how they feel, what their typical reactions would be, none of these things make them good or bad people. People want to. A lot of individuals will say, "Oh, you do this makes you a bad person." Well, not really, because what if they're doing it for good reasons, even though they don't realize that what they're doing is a bad thing? There's plenty of people out there that manipulate or lie, but they do it because they're trying to be positive or loving and give people, good stuff. It's just slightly skewed perception of how to go about that. Doesn't make them a bad person, right? I mean, he's like, oh, well, they're still trying to put good in the world, so it doesn't make them a good person. So now you want to sit here and judge good and bad, but it's...
Or how many people would be, and you could even, given the right kinds of situations, put yourself in that category too. How many people would view a situation completely different than you and would be willing to accept certain maybe negative outcomes to reach a positive one in the future?
A little bit of bad for a lot of bit of good.
And how they would view that, your viewpoint on the situation could be identical. Yes, I want a better tomorrow. Well, so do I. I just see us getting there a different way.
Yeah, dude, the idea that popped in my head is going after Osama bin Laden. We literally killed a man. But it's because we felt doing so would keep several others from dying. I mean, that's an extreme situation, but that's...
If that ends up in every situation, and I'm not picking on any particular one, if that ends up being the truth of what happened, great. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. Well, how much of that we're hearing is actually... Because I don't know, I wasn't there for a lot of that, but so we can get into...
No, that's not the conversation.
Oh, sorry.
That is never the conversation. I'm not going to get into the politics of that crap. It's the literal idea of just like we felt
the idea of one person having to suffer the ultimate.
Yeah, there was a group of us that felt that there was a necessity to destroy this individual to keep, because otherwise, if not, then it was just out of straight like, aha, we got you, and that's murder. So instead they're trying to justify it as this was a mercy.
So you justify all this by the greater good. The greater good.
Well, but
yeah.
But that's my thing, though. Is
right.
So to that extreme, yeah. That's why I agree with what you're saying. It's. But can we? To me, does that truly justify it? Can we have that little bit of bad for all that good? Sometimes maybe we have to. That gets into the gray area of the context of the question and the constraints, right?
Well, the question being is, how much like your enemy do you have to become in order to defeat him? Why? Maybe that was the whole purpose behind, and this is a whole other conversation I would actually like to get into at some point, the whole concept of resist not evil. That's a tough one to swallow.
Say that
again? But that's resist not evil. That's what Christ told us to do. He didn't say to resist evil, he said resist not evil. Because sometimes, in your desire to fight something, you end up becoming that something.
Dude,
right? And if you seek vengeance, you better what?
Dig 2 graves.
Right.
Yeah, no, what was the thing I butchered? He who attempts to avoid his destiny often meets it on the road he travels to. Yeah, I just tweaked it a little bit again. Oh God,
And we can look it up, but it really doesn't matter.
Master Oogway.
Master Oogway was pretty cool.
Yeah, he, oh man, it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna have to write this down just to punish myself. Since it's like chalkboard.
We're like Bart Simpson, write it down 100 times.
Over and over and over again. Yeah, he, we often meet the destiny that we attempt to avoid on the. We often meet our destiny on the road. I forget. He's looking it up. Fact checker, thank goodness, because my brain's about to blow up.
We're gonna see.
It is late.
I'm looking for. I know it's very late. We gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, no, you can just.
They're all good. Here, I'll just start reading down the list. Okay.
Well, no, I don't want to read down the list. I just want the one.
Because
I
like this one. I like this one, and this is the one you threw at me one day, and I was like, "Dude, was that? No way. Was that Kung Fu Panda?" And you're like, "Master Oogway." Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. And today is a gift. That's why they call it present.
Yeah, we've already quoted that too. That's not the one I keep messing up though.
If you only do what you can do, you will never be more than you are now.
So now we're just quoting Oogway now.
They're all good. They're really, honestly, I'm reading through them like these are really nice.
Well, how about this? Can we just do the one that I keep messing up, or not do it at all, please? Because I don't want to just sit here doing Oogway quotes.
That's it? I know there's more than that.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, you're on the wrong list. This is why we need a fact checker.
This one says 23 Master Oogway quotes. Here we go.
This is why we need a fact checker.
This is exactly why we need a fact checker. But you know what?
Put your resume in the comments.
You can. Resume.
Contact us at info@somethingrother.com. I think we should probably actually create that website now.
So what were you saying it's supposed to sound like? Something like what?
He who attempts to avoid his destiny often meets it on the road he travels.
Oh, okay. I think I know the one you're talking. Okay. There's a lot of quotes in here. Wow.
Because Oogway's a very smart turtle.
You might as well just continue talking for a minute while I'm looking for this.
This is why we need a fact checker.
Yeah, because otherwise we just have dead air.
I guess maybe at this point. All right, so fact checker. Criteria must meet. Can type more than 5 words a minute. I don't know. Knows how to operate the internet. We got really low standards. We don't need much. Knows how to sit in the corner and look pretty. Like,
look at this one. Look pretty.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't care, dude. Just if you're gonna sit in the corner, you gotta look good, and then know how to play on the keyboard so you can give us the tick-tacky noise. Must have a license and or a proper.
Like, get with the clickety-click over there. What are you doing?
I know we're not paying you nothing for no reason.
At least make it sound like you're working. What the hell?
Must have a good sense of humor to put up with us. There you go.
This was the one you were saying the other time. Look at this tree. I cannot make it blossom when it suits me, nor make it fruit.
Dude, you're killing me now.
No, but all right.
You need the context of that because you need to see the whole scene. Because then you got to see Shifu doing his business, giving him the what for, and then like getting all saucy and stuff.
Next time you want to quote Oogway, maybe you should do your homework and come up with the quote yourself.
I said we just need a fact checker, and you're proving my point.
Your mind is like this water, my friend.
Dude, we're doing voiceovers. This is what this is. All right, this is getting the sillies are not out. We need to go. Yeah, this is a conversation for another time. It's way past our bedtime. It's
just we're just
Well, we're gonna write this down later. We're gonna do appropriate fact checking. We'll have a list of things or something.
We're not gonna leave on a negative.
We're not leaving.
We're
not going anywhere. You're just going to push that button.
I
did it.
Oh, he brought up the button.
Yeah. Mr. Gemini, always a pleasure.
All right.
Catch you guys on the next one.
It's been a real conversation. Good night.